We all know that awful, sinking feeling, right? You're walking up to your car and there it is, that little slip of paper trapped right under your windshield wiper. But have you ever stopped to think about what actually happens to that parking ticket once it's issued? Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating, and honestly, sometimes deeply frustrating world of municipal citations.
So what really happens after you get a ticket? It's a super relatable question. I mean, you might think you just pay a fine and the whole thing simply goes away. But finding that ticket on your windshield, that is actually just the very first step into a massive bureaucratic maze. Behind the scenes, it triggers this incredibly complex web of local databases, third-party payment gateways, and municipal courts all talking to each other.
To make sense of it all, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the citation tech revolution, then look at a tale of two Peorias. After that, we'll explore the cost of convenience, how cities are keeping cash alive. And finally, we'll wrap up with equity and debt forgiveness.
Okay, let's jump right into Part 1, the citation tech revolution.
Over the last few years, cities have rapidly adopted digital portals to process their citations. And this is a massive shift. We're moving away from those old paper-heavy systems where clerks had to physically file everything by hand to these sleek, modern online platforms. But you know, this digital evolution of civic administration isn't exactly perfect. While the whole goal is to streamline the process, it's actually introduced entirely new technical bottlenecks and administrative headaches that everyday citizens are suddenly forced to navigate. Let's look at exactly how this plays out in Part 2, A Tale of Two Peorias. Meet Peoria, Illinois. This is going to be our first anchor city today. Peoria has a very specific focus on rapid compliance and keeping things strictly at the local level, especially when we're talking about parking tickets. They've designed their system from the ground up to incentivize you to pay up fast, but the way they divide up their legal jurisdiction might actually surprise you a bit. So we have a major structural difference between two cities with the exact same name. Peoria, Illinois operates what's called a bifurcated system. Basically, this means if you get a parking ticket, it's handled locally through a municipal portal. But if you commit a moving violation, like, say, running a red light in the city, that ticket is managed entirely separately by the Peoria County Circuit Clerk. So you're dealing with two different portals and two completely different processes. Now, contrast this with the city of Peoria in Arizona. They use a unified municipal court system. Whether you park illegally or speed down the highway, the whole shebang is processed under one roof by the Peoria Municipal Court. Now, what's really fascinating here is the number 48. In Peoria, Arizona, despite having this nice unified system, there's a mandatory 48 business hour database lag. This literally means if you get a ticket and you eagerly rush online to just pay the thing and get it over with, you actually can't. The court staff needs at least 48 business hours from the time the physical citation is issued just to manually type the complaint into their system. So the slick digital portal is completely bottlenecked by this back-end human administrative processing time. Meanwhile, in sharp contrast, Peoria, Illinois is running on a very strict 7-day ticking clock. They demand that parking tickets be paid or at least postmarked within exactly 7 days from the ticket issuance date to avoid having your penalty go up, and they do not mess around with this rule. Municipal policy expressly forbids private postal meters as valid proof of the mailing date. So if the U.S. Postal Service delays processing your envelope, well, you are the one left holding the bag for those late fees. Which naturally brings us to Part 3, the cost of convenience. These modern online portals are incredibly helpful for sure, but somebody has to pay for the software that runs them. And that brings us to a somewhat harsh financial reality. A 5% convenience fee. In Peoria, Arizona, if you use their specific municipal vendor site, which is owned by a third party called N-Court, you're going to get hit with a 5% convenience fee on your total transaction. The city's reliance on these software processors quietly shifts the cost of doing business directly onto the citizens. The city gets to save on administrative overhead, but the user absolutely pays the price at checkout. And the variety of hidden fees across different jurisdictions is just staggering. In Arizona, if you decide to use the state-run portal instead of the municipal one, you're hit with a flat $5 fee instead of a percentage. Over in the Peoria County, Illinois portal, they apply their own unique checkout surcharges for moving violations. And hey, if you're hoping to just quickly use Apple Pay or Cash App from your phone, you're out of luck. The Peoria County, Illinois portal strictly rejects those modern alternative payments. Let's briefly zoom out beyond Peoria for a second and look at Fairfield, Connecticut. Over there, a day parking pass at the train station is $6.50 plus tax. But if you utilize their incredibly convenient text-to-pay system right from your smartphone, it automatically tacks on another 35-cent vendor fee to the transaction. These little microtransactions really add up, and they perfectly illustrate a nationwide trend where civic convenience comes with a literal, out-of-pocket price tag.
Moving into part 4, let's talk about keeping cash alive.
So, what happens if you don't have a credit card, or you just flat out refuse to pay those online convenience fees? Well, Arizona actually has a really brilliant workaround through an integration with the Pay Near Me retail network. This setup allows residents to settle their state obligations with physical cash, exactly like you're just buying a soda or a candy bar. You just go to the state portal, generate a unique digital barcode, and download it to your phone. Then you walk into a local participating retailer, think 7-Eleven, CVS, or Walmart, show the barcode to the cashier, hand over your cash, and boom, the payment is sent to the court within 15 minutes. Now, it does include a $2.99 fee, but it successfully bridges that huge gap between digital enforcement and physical currency.
Of course, simply paying the fine isn't your only option. Take Sedona, Arizona, for example. They offer citizens a few different pathways. You can plead responsible and just pay it. You can plead not responsible and request an actual hearing to fight the charge, or you can plead no contest. But here's an interesting one. You can also choose to attend a certified defensive driving school. If you're eligible, completing that program means your single civil charge is completely dismissed. No points hit your driving record, and the fine is eliminated. Though, to be fair, you still have to pay the school's registration fee.
And that leads us to our final section, equity and debt forgiveness. How do cities grapple with the very real, severe consequences of unpaid municipal debt? The reality of falling behind can be incredibly harsh. We're talking about a punitive pipeline here. In Peoria, Illinois, accumulating just 5 unpaid parking tickets makes your vehicle subject to getting booted. If you hit 10 unpaid citations, things escalate dramatically. The city will actually request that the state suspend your driver's license. Plus, they'll block you from getting any other municipal licenses until you pay up. Now think about that. Suspending a driver's license over non-moving violations can literally prevent someone from commuting to work. It triggers this devastating compounding cycle of job loss and even more debt. So the absolutely crucial question is, how do municipalities mitigate this disaster for economically vulnerable people? Well, Peoria, Illinois operates a debt hardship program to offer a lifeline. They forgive housing fines and parking tickets based directly on a resident's household size and income. For example, if you're a 3-person household making at or below 80% of the area median income, which is roughly $46,700, you are eligible to have your debt fully forgiven. If you fall into a slightly higher income bracket, you might still qualify for partial relief through structured payment plans. It's a real structural mechanism designed specifically to halt that punitive pipeline before it ruins a life.
So we've seen just how complex the hidden machinery of a simple citation can truly be. We're talking 48-hour database lags, 5% convenience fees, scanning barcodes at a 7-Eleven, all the way to debt forgiveness based on area median income. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to end on today. How does your local government balance their need for revenue collection with basic community equity? I highly encourage you to take a look into your own city's policies regarding these convenience fees, their administrative timelines, and especially their debt relief programs. You might honestly be surprised by what you find out. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.